Welcome to the PowerPoint Basics series where we discover all the different functions the tool has to offer. Alright, let's get into it. Starting off with a common situation, you have a shape on your slide and are now adding a second one. Of course, everything will look better if they are aligned. There are two ways to go about it. Option 1, you can use the grid lines on the slide as a guide to align your shapes. PowerPoint even shows you if you are even with those little helper lines that appear. If your slide is not showing the grid lines, don't worry, just go to View in your upper toolbar. Once you are in the View segment, make sure that there is a check mark in the box next to grid lines. Option 2 is using the choices in the Align drop-down. This will make your life easier if you have multiple shapes or complex shapes that are not as easy to align with the grid lines as a square. To use the Align drop-down, select all the concerned shapes and make your choice. When you are in the Home segment, you will find the Align options in the right half of your toolbar under Arrange. If you are in the Format Shape segment, you can see the Align option also on the upper right. The Format Shape segment, however, only appears when you have actively selected a shape. What option of the Align drop-down to use depends on the situation. Let's show an example. You have 4 squares and need to align the last one. You select the concerned square as well as the square below it since they are not fully aligned. Then you go to the drop-down and select Align Center. The little icons help you understand what each option in the menu will do. The Align Center option works. Both squares are now right above each other. But the gap towards your squares on the left side has widened. To avoid this, instead of using the center option, you can use Align Left. That way the square that is to be adjusted will join the positioning of the square which is already in place, since that one is further left. The more practice you get with the Align drop-down, the more intuitive this will become. Until then, feel free to try different options out and observe the different effects. Let's move on to another example. You have 3 squares that are not yet evenly aligned. As we have learned, you can use the grid lines and red guiding lines to solve this. But with multiple shapes, it is quicker to use the Align drop-down. Select all the shapes and then assess which option you need. Because in this case, there is no need to keep a single shape stable, I can use the Align Middle option. This is different to the previously used Align Center option because it works in the horizontal, not the vertical. Now our shapes are all in one line, but the slide overall still doesn't look clean. That is because the spacing between our squares is not even. This can also be solved with the Align drop-down. First, you need to make sure that your squares in the outer left and outer right are in the exact position you want them to be. If you already aligned them in the middle, I would recommend that you use the arrows on your keyboard to move the shapes. This way there is no unwanted movement in the vertical, as might occur if you use the cursor. Once the outer shapes are set, select all the shapes and in the Align drop-down select Distribute horizontally. Now you have your even spacing. This, of course, also works if you have a bigger number of shapes. If you found this tutorial helpful, give us a follow to not miss any other parts of the PowerPoint Basics series. See you next time.